मेरा नाम अमृता मिश्रा है। मैं बी बोल्ड वुमेन ग्रुप की एडमिन हूँ और डब्ल्यू जो ग्रुप है चैताली मैम का, उनने मुझे काफ़ी सपोर्ट किया है और काफ़ी अच्छी हैं वो, और उनका ग्रुप जो है वो लेडीज़ों को बहुत अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म देता है। उन्हीं के साथ मैंने अपने ग्रुप को चलाने की कोशिश की है कि हम दोनों मिलके जो है एक नॉर्मल लेडीज़ें जो होती हैं हाउसवाइफ, उनको एक प्लेटफॉर्म दे सके, उनको आगे बढ़ने का एक चांस दे सके।
मेरा नाम प्रतीक्षा है। मैं बी बोल्ड की पार्टनर हूँ, अमृता मिश्रा की पार्टनर हूँ। तो हमारा ये मोटिव है कि जो कोई भी लेडीज़ है उनको हम अच्छे से कुछ प्लेटफॉर्म दे दे, जिसमें वो अपना टैलेंट या अपना जो कुछ भी कर रहे हैं वो आगे दिखा सके।
तो जानते हो क्या कॉन्सेप्ट है और आज के बारे में जानना चाहूँगा कि आज क्या आप करने वाली है, मतलब यहाँ पे?
एक्चुअली हमारा एक मोटिव है कि हम जो मैरिड वुमन हैं और टीनेजर्स हैं जो अपनी बिज़ी लाइफ में होती हैं, उनके लिए एक छोटा सा एक हम फैशन शो ऑर्गेनाइज़ करने जा रहे हैं, लाइक पेजेंट। उन्हीं के साथ हम किड्स को भी एक प्लेटफॉर्म देने जा रहे हैं। तो आज हमारा उसी का ऑडिशन राउंड है। हम उसमें से अनमैरिड, मैरिड और किड्स का सिलेक्शन करेंगे। बाकायदा उसके लिए हमने मिस महाराष्ट्र और मिसेस महाराष्ट्र और मिसेस यूनिवर्सल को बुलाया है।
तो आगे किस तरह से प्लेटफॉर्म देने वाली हैं जो आपके एसोसिएट होते हैं इस वेंचर में, किस तरह से उनको आगे प्लेटफॉर्म मिलेगा अपने कैरियर में?
आगे जाके हम लोग एक फ़ाइनल इसका शो करने वाले हैं। अगर वो सक्सेसफुली होता है तो उसके बाद हम और भी कुछ बड़े लेवल पे इवेंट्स करेंगे, ताकि हम लेडीज़ों को जितना ज़्यादा हो सके उनके पैरों पे खड़े होने में उनकी मदद कर सकें।
Hello, my name is Neelam Kumar, and I'm an author of 9 best-selling books. The latest one being Manisha Koirala's Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life, which is a huge bestseller. How I came in contact with Chaitali, because I have always believed that women are a powerhouse of talent, and being half the population, unfortunately they are, ignored. And especially women who are in their middle ages completely become invisible. But Chaitali has created a forum, WWE, that harnesses the talent of all women, gives them a chance to display their talent, market it, and make themselves known. Now, this is a cause I totally support. That is why I'm here, and I think both she, the women who are here today, and the event, as always, is awesome. Good luck. Thank you.
It's a beautiful day today. It's the Chaturthi, and we are here celebrating, of course, the power of a woman. It's all about the strength of a woman. We are here by the grace of the goddesses, or Aaj is, the color is blue of today, the 4th day of Navratri. और मैं नवरात्रि को तो बहुत मानती हूँ. सो ये जो ब्यूटीफुल सा थीम है बाय चैताली चैटर्जी, आई मस्ट कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट हर, बिकॉज जो स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ अ वुमन एंड द एंटायर एसेंस ऑफ द स्पिरिचुअल सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ नवरात्रि यहाँ पर मुझे दिख रहा है. तो मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देना चाहूँगी टू चैताली कि वो इतने सारे women entrepreneurs को ये opportunity देती है to showcase their skills, their talent, and she invites everyone so that they become great entrepreneurs. I congratulate each and every one of you and wishing you all a very, very grand and absolutely a magnificent celebration of the most colorful festival and the longest dance festival in the world, Navratri.
I think it's a huge honor for me to be invited here by Chaitali for this event, and I think it's great work that she's doing, providing a platform, promoting women entrepreneurs, providing, it is like giving a solid push, a solid boon to, okay, I'll give you an example, when I was doing my management at IIM Calcutta, we had learned about the cottage industries getting into the large scale industries. I think over here, all the entrepreneurs, they are creating employment for others. They are contributing to the economy of the nation in that way. So I think they are doing a brilliant job. Well, when I spoke on Josh Talks Hubby about 2 days back, the video which has been released on YouTube, if you Google Major Muhammad Ali Shah Josh Talks, that's about the journey of my life. It was supposed to be an inspirational, motivational story. It's basically reviving the art of storytelling. And here as well, being a motivational speaker, here I gave something. I narrated a few poems which were inspirational poems like Rudyard Kipling's If, Not to Quit, and the other poems I said. So, if you see that video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much.
Oh, I think it's a lovely concept, and I'm really happy, that something of this sort is happening, because, like I said in my talk, also in my brief talk, that in most of the conferences or seminars, we have very few women actually, and you can count on the fingertips of, say, maybe one hand or two hands. So you need more of support and cooperation, and something that is happening very beautifully in this women entrepreneurs enclave that Chaitali ji is doing, and I'm really happy to be associated with this, because I myself also am an entrepreneur, and apart from being associated with some women-centric initiatives. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and I wish Chaitali ji all the very best.
Hi, I'm Sneha Shah myself, and I'm a choreographer and an event organizer. I have my own company, event organization company called Sneh Kala Kendra, and we are into wedding planning and birthday party organization. And I am basically a choreographer. About Chaitali, I should say she is a woman who has all the talents, multi-talented woman, and she has taken this thing of collecting all the entrepreneurs, bringing them under one roof and giving them the opportunity. Like, it's like now the scene is that if I need something, I don't have to go and hunt out. VE is the place where I'll get everything. So Chaitali's done a great job. VE rocks, and after joining VE also, I think terms of business has changed from a working woman to an entrepreneur. So itself, I think the sentence itself, you'll understand what difference has come to our life. And we get lovely platforms through VE, we get lovely opportunities through VE, and we get nice exposure. Not only myself, but my students, the people who are under me, taking dance training under me, they also get beautiful platforms and a chance to perform in front of celebrities, which itself is a good thing. So I think VEE rocks.
So I first met Chaitali about a year and a half back when she started when she told me about the Women Entrepreneurs Enclave, the V, and I've attended a lot of their little programs, and every time I come, I see it's increasing, it's growing beautifully, and I'm so happy to be part of this because I see so many women entrepreneurs taking part. And it's great fun. You have interactive sessions, you have book readings, you have music, you have all kinds of, motivational speeches. At the same time, you have all the lovely shops and the women displaying their wares. This is fun. And today, being 150th birthday of Mahatma Gandhi ji, and it is a beautiful festive collection and lovely. It's wonderful to see. When I come for V Enclave, I feel I'm coming back to family, and the Om Puri Foundation, which I run, I'm very happy that we are the NGO partners with we, because that was the idea of OMG, to always help anybody, whether men, women, people, deserving people, and we are very happy to lend our support.
हेलो दोस्तों, मैं अरुण सिंह वी की तरफ से और बॉलीवुड अड्डा की तरफ से चैताली का स्वागत करता हूँ। चैताली, क्या कहना चाहेंगी आप आज के इस इवेंट के बारे में?
देखिए, हम लोग हर तरीके से हमारे वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को जैसे सपोर्ट करते हैं, प्रमोट करते हैं, तो आज का इवेंट है प्री फेस्टिव सेलिब्रेशंस एंड एग्जीबिशन। तो हमारे वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स जिनके बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, जिनको प्रमोट करना है, तो आपने देखा ही होगा हमारी वैरायटी ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स है, ज्वेलरीज़ है, साड़ी है, और अभी इतने सारे फेस्टिवल्स आ रहे हैं, नवरात्रि, दुर्गा पूजा, करवा चौथ, दिवाली। तो व्हाट इज़ दैट कि ये जो प्रोडक्ट्स है उसी से रिलेटेड है, तो हमने सोचा कि आज इस तरह का हम एग्जीबिशन रखें, और सेलिब्रेशंस भी हो रहे हैं। काफ़ी सारे बच्चे टैलेंट शो के लिए आ रहे हैं। नंदिता ओमपुरी जी का आज बुक रीडिंग हुआ है, उन्होंने
ओमपुरी के बारे में बताया, हमारे कुछ परफॉर्मेंसेस हुए हैं, सेलिब्रिटी परफॉर्मेंसेस हुए हैं, सिमरन आहूजा भी आई थी, अभी हमारी सुजाता मेहता जी भी आने वाली है. सो वी हैव सेलिब्रिटीज़ ऑल्सो कमिंग इन हु आर परफॉर्मिंग एंड ऑल्सो सपोर्टिंग अस फॉर दिस इवेंट.
आपके हर बार मैं देखते जा रहा हूँ कि स्टॉल्स बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, लोग बढ़ते जा रहे हैं. इसके पीछे कारण क्या, रीज़न क्या है? क्या सफलता सचमुच मिल रही है लोगों को, जो लोग इतने जुड़ते जा रहे हैं एक के बाद एक?
बस काम दिख रहा है लोगों को. हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं लोगों को जितना हम प्रमोट कर सके. सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट है अफोर्डेबल कॉस्ट में, ताकि वो अपने आप को प्रमोट कर सकते, अपना मार्केटिंग कर सकते हैं. और हम लोग ध्यान रखते हैं कि उनका ज़्यादा खर्चा भी ना हो, लेकिन उनका फ़ायदा भी ज़्यादा हो.
आमतौर पर ऐसे एग्जीबिशंस में चीज़ें ज़्यादा कॉस्टली मिलती है मार्केट से, यहाँ क्या ख्याल है?
वही हमने जैसे आपको पहले बताया, यहाँ पे भी हमने रीज़नेबल सबको रखने को बोला है ताकि सब लोग खरीदें. और इसीलिए हमने उनसे स्टॉल्स के कॉस्ट भी इसीलिए बहुत मिनिमम रखा है, ताकि वो लोग भी उनको भी फ़ायदा हो.
थैंक यू.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a wonderful concept. In fact, I just got to know from her that it's a pre-festive, so a lot of people want to shop around, and it's an amazing thing that in one roof you get everything. So I really appreciate the work she's doing. So I have been invited as a guest of honor, and I run India's first forum for women that's called Lajja, and Chaitali is a part of Lajja as well. So that's how we mutually support each other and grow.
So I started it with a sentence which says, I grow silent, dear soul, you speak. I don't want to die. I texted my friend in desperation. The feeling of being engulfed by darkness was fast descending on me. Even as I choked and struggled to fight it, darkness clutched at my throat, cutting off the light. Then it traveled swiftly, sweeping ruthlessly through my body, and finally settled into the pit of my stomach. I panicked at the old memory of feeling abandoned. It had happened to me at age 8 when my mother left me at my grandmother's house in Banaras and simply walked away. Wide-eyed, I had remained standing there, waiting for her to look back and take me in her arms. She never did. Why didn't you turn? I asked her many years later. Because, my little one, I did not want you to see me get teary-eyed. It was only years later that I understood why she had left me there. She was helping out my father in Nepal's mounting political activities and knew that my grandmother, who had ably raised several children, would look after me well. Of course, with time I had understood this, but I felt a tinge of desertion when my marriage had failed. I had tried my best to make it work, and its collapse weighed heavily on my soul. But we were just two very different people, not meant to be with each other. Why did I always end up choosing the wrong guy? I fretted over what the world would say, that I could not even handle a marriage well. The fear of being abandoned had chased me all my life. This fear, however, was unlike anything I had experienced before. It was the fear of being abandoned by life itself. So that's how it begins. And there's the longing to be a mother, and she's lying on the hospital bed, and she says, why am I here with a protruding stomach, waiting for my, whatever it is inside to be operated? Just opposite the road is a maternity hospital. Why have I not been admitted there? She just asked me to describe the feelings that one gets when one is in an aircraft, and this is being quoted all over. So I would just like to read this. Many of you must be familiar with this feeling. A nighttime descent into Mumbai, the capital of Maharashtra, is an entrancing experience. The lights inside the aircraft are off, and you feel like you are alone, suspended between the sky and earth. This is the city that regularly attracts droves of hopeful youngsters often from smaller towns, their eyes studded with starry dreams of catching that elusive bird of fame, success and wealth. Mumbai is India's Aladdin's magic lamp. Everyone wishes to rub it and get lucky. The genie has bestowed unimaginable boons on many seekers. It has also denied favors to innumerable others, driving them to despair. And yet, there's that attraction, that magical pull. I had come to Mumbai as an actor in 1990 with my mom after being signed by Subhash Bhaiji of Mukta Arts for my debut film Saudagar, which released in 91 and became a top crosser. I never looked back. Movies followed in quick succession, some of which were Yalgar, 1942 A Love Story, Akele Hum Akele Tum, Bombay, Agni Sakshi, Khamoshi the musical, Gupt, Dil Se, Kache Dhage, Man and Hindustan Ki Kasam. Much later, when I was working in a movie with Shah Rukh Khan, he told me, Manisha, I think you should buy a house in Mumbai so that you can feel at home here. I had been living in a rented apartment ever since I came to Mumbai. I was saving money, though I don't know for what. Shah Rukh told me that if I bought a place of my own, I would feel rooted and not feel like a nomad or wanderer. I smiled because I knew that no house could really tie me down, as I have been an eternal nomad by nature. And then the story goes on to say how she had everything, stardom, money, fame, but somewhere inside there was an emptiness. And then when she was doing Lavaris, she discovered she felt completely disconnected from the world. And then, she was diagnosed with cancer. And she says, Neelam, likh dalo na ki mujhe pain hua first time. So how do you describe pain? Pain is very different. So just brace yourselves. I think from my personal experience, I described this. The first time she went to Sloan Kettering Hospital, they injected her, but it reacted. So she was in pain. And this is how I described it, which is now the most quoted paragraph. Sweat poured down my cheeks. I wiped it off with fingers that were ice cold. Will my body be able to withstand this onslaught? And for how long? At first, it was just one vicious wolf hurtling forward at top speed inside me. And suddenly, there was a pack of them. Dark, wild wolves, their mouths open, fangs bared, seeking out each vein of my body, tearing forward at great speed, hell-bent on destruction. Hungrily, they began devouring everything in sight. My organs, my blood, my veins, my bones. It was maddening. I knew I would not live through this. My face became flushed, my skin broke out in angry rashes, my stomach hurt, and I had a strong desire to throw up. The nurses panicked. The blood pressure is up, the heart rate is shooting up, stop the infusion. An authoritative voice called out, Page Dr. Macker urgently, get her here, tell her it's an emergency. Of course, that particular medicine was stopped and she emerged victorious. I don't want you to feel that it's a very dark book. It's not. It's full of fun and humor and love. So there's that scene where how Bollywood came to her rescue. She was lying on the hospital bed along, and there were so many patients, and nobody knew she was Manisha Koirala. In India, she was a celebrity. So it's a funny incident where, she wanted a TV remote. And she asked the nurse, may I have a TV remote? And she said, no, it's with the other patient. Then she kept asking for, a few things, a hot water bag, and they kept saying, no, okay, we'll come back to you, there's a serious case there. Finally, when the nurse came, she said, would you mind Googling me? I work in Indian films. And she said, oh, in the ones they dance and sing. Do you dance and sing? And she said, yes, I dance and sing. Would you give me a TV remote, please? So finally she got the TV remote. So it's a very funny scene how she had to establish her identity. I would like to read a piece without revealing anything. A little paragraph when she was at the most vulnerable stage of her life. This chapter is called Vulnerability, the Chink in My Armor. He came in as the protective alpha male who would comfort me. I will protect you from the world, he would say. I felt like a child amid mishaps, very vulnerable. The relationship was like that between a rescuer and rescued. As long as this was the equation, it worked, as the roles were very clear. But the moment I wasn't in that victim role anymore and wanted to be on equal footing, things started to unravel. The only problem was I was deeply in love with him. I found out he had a wife and a child. When his betrayal became apparent, it shook my world, and the effect remains to this day. It's not easy to recover from a heartbreak. The book goes on to say how she recovered, and then it is all about the way she healed. So all of you spiritual healers would be very interested, because actually I believe it's the mind over the body. Thank you so much. And I don't have copies of this book, but it's everywhere. It is called Manisha Koirala with Neelam Kumar, Healed, How Cancer Gave Me a New Life. It is a Penguin Random House publication. Do pick up a copy if you feel like. Thank you so much.
Center? Yeah, center.
Is a small poem I would like to recite to you all. And as we just heard Neelam just say, it's the mind over the body, and I could so connect and relate to that. So there's, when things go wrong, as it sometimes will, when the road you are trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh. When care's pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, and many of us sometimes learns, and many a person turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. So don't quit when life is toughest. Stick to the fight when your hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. Don't quit when the tide is lowest, for it's just about to turn. Don't quit over doubts and questions, for there's something you may learn. Don't quit when the night is darkest, for there's just a moment until dawn. Don't quit when you run the furthest, for the race is almost won. Don't quit when the hill is steepest, for your goal is almost nigh. Don't quit, for you're not a failure unless and until you fail to try. And as Neelam just mentioned, is a mind over. Thank you very much. And as just mentioned correctly, it's the mind over the body. And I told you straight away that I could so connect with that. So there's a poem which I had learned while I was training in the academy in the army. There was a letter, there was a note which read on my desk. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed at war. So it was all hard work, and there were times when we would just, when I was doing the parade, I'll give an example. The 26th January parade, I was selected, it was in 1987. I still remember on 26th January 1987, there was an uncle of mine who was in the army. And I saw him lead the parade on Rajpath. And my sister was selected to go for the 26th January parade from school when she was in class 8th. But on 23rd January 1987, my Nana passed away. So we went to our hometown to visit my Nana. And my sister could not take part in the parade as a result. So it was my ambition and my dream since then that one day I'm going to march at Rajpath leading the parade. So I joined the army and I couldn't pass my drill square test repeatedly. And I was marched up to the commandant and to the adjutant and they asked me, son, why are you failing continuously? I said, sir, my father said, make us proud and keep your performance always consistent. That's the reason I'm consistently failing in this test. Anyhow, I got selected for the 20th January parade, which is supposed to be a very prestigious event, a dream of every soldier. And we rehearsed, we practiced for 4 months, every morning, 4 a.m. we used to be there. And on 5th January 2008, just about 15 days before the parade, I was detected with stress fractures on both my legs, which I haven't spoken, only my close friend from the army knew about it, but I haven't told this to you either about this. On 5th January, they said you got stress fractures on both your legs. So you said yesterday something, I'll tell you something which you haven't, which you don't really know me for long, but something which you didn't know. So they said you cannot do the parade. And I was very disappointed. I said, no, I have to do the parade, there's no chance. So I didn't go to the military doctor. I went to the civil doctor and he advised me again rest. He said, you cannot do the parade. And it was all in the mind. I said, no, I will still do it. I'll prove everyone wrong. So this was my golden chance because I was leaving the army that year. If I don't do the parade that year, then my golden opportunity goes for a miss. So I kept taking painkillers every morning at 4 a.m. I would take painkillers, I would be at the parade ground standing and marching with my troops. On 23rd January, when we had a full dress rehearsal at Rajpath, when you imagine the President of India is there and those 100 meters are crucial when you come towards the President's dais. And it's a 2-kilometer stage at Rajpath, thereafter it's a 14-kilometer march until Red Fort. So when I was nearing the President's dais on 23rd January, that's the time, because I was marching with stress fractures on both my legs and tremendous swelling, on painkillers, surviving only on medicine and my mental strength, I almost fell down just before the President's dais. And as a result, my word of command, because your word of command has to be louder than the army band playing behind you. Because if it's not louder than them, the men behind you will miss the step. And if they miss the step, you cannot afford that on Rajpath. But I fumbled there. As a result, later on I was told by my instructor, by my ustad, कि आप parade नहीं करेंगे 26 जनवरी को. Adam officer जो हैं, he'll step into your shoes. And just 2 days before the final day, I said, there's no chance, I'm not letting go of this opportunity, no matter what happens. I proved it. I said, Saab, let's see whoever is better out of the two. He was any day better still. But again, mental strength. And now final day came. And I was selected, okay, I'll march on Rajpath. मगर इज्जत का सवाल है, हार नहीं मानना है वहाँ पे, Rajpath पे, no matter what. And I was told by the author that don't try these stunts, health is wealth, health comes first. I said no. And the next day, 27th January, I was to get engaged. And anyhow, I came on Rajpath. Just before I reached the President's dais, my legs actually gave up that time. And just when I was about to say or think that I can't, I heard the commentator on Doordarshan was announcing, leading the Assam Rifles contingent, कंधे से कंधा मिलाते हुए जा रहे हैं, Major Mohammad Ali Shah. And that's the time my mental strength gave me strength. And I marched through the 100 meters. And that's not all. When I cleared the 2-kilometer stretch of Rajpath, thereafter it was a 14-kilometer march until Red Fort. And my men were behind me. Now I wasn't in the eyeballs of spectators, cameras, commentary. No. I could have taken it easy. I could have marched aram se. But those 14 kilometers went on only because the strength lied here. And my men behind me were watching me. Nobody else was watching me, but the men behind me were watching me. When I completed the 14-kilometer stretch at Red Fort, that's the time I actually fell down. A stretcher was called for me, and an ambulance was called. That's how I did the. So there was again, and this poem, this last poem I would like to recite to you all is: if you think you're beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you'd like to win, but think you cannot, there's almost a kinch you won't. It's all in the mind. You got to think high to rise. You got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win the prize.
Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man. But sooner or later, the person who wins is the one who thinks he can. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Center.
You know, during some of my motivational talks, at the end of it, there are some teary-eyed girls coming up to me and telling me, "Ma'am, we want to be like you. Can you tell us how to be strong? We want to be able to face the world. We want to be able to be strong and be leaders." So I say, "Yeah, you want to be a leader. So what is stopping you?" So one girl tells me, family, they don't allow us. They stop us. So I say that the very first battle, okay, apart from all these things that I just said about finances, about society, so the very first battle is the one in your own mind. So I tell them that you have to first believe in yourself. When you believe that you can do it, then you can convince. You can convince your family. You can convince the financiers. You can convince whoever it is. But first you have to be convinced that you can do it. So the first battle is the battle of the mind. Like they say, man jeete, wo jag jeete. So I'm very happy to see so many women entrepreneurs here, and I'm sure that the numbers will keep growing, and that this place will not be able to hold, or it will be overflowing, and you'll have to move to a bigger venue next year. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
And I'm sure I don't need to introduce Omji, but Ishan wanted to be here, but unfortunately he's down with conjunctivitis, so he couldn't come. So I'm going to read some excerpts from my husband's biography. It's called Unlikely Hero. It was published in 2009. Some excerpts just to know a little bit about the man. And I'm sure you all know. So I'll start with a short introduction, the foreword, which was written by Patrick Swayze, his co-star in City of Joy. Patrick Swayze of Dirty Dancing and Ghost fame. I first met Om Puri during City of Joy in 1991 in Calcutta, where we spent a lot of time, especially with me, listening to him. It was an amusing experience for me, as he was truly an Indian version of my father. They have incredibly similar looks. What also drew me to him was his silent strength and power. In City of Joy, Om was my Pied Piper who helped me understand India in every way. As an actor, he had such diversity and depth. You look into his eyes and you read volumes. That is the kind of power he has as an actor. This intensity makes him the master of mystical roles, which he excels in. Om's entire journey can be read in his face, and he adds a layer of credibility and passion to every role he essels. Whether people casting in Hollywood knew it or not, they were casting a real human being, not merely an actor. He embodies the idea that true heroism lies in the quality of how you survive your daily struggle. To me, he is my guru. Then Derek Malcolm, the very well-known critic of The Guardian, London, says this about Omji, because Omji is the only Indian actor to have got the OBE, the only Indian actor to be, honored at the Oscars, and the only Indian actor who's worked with mainstream Hollywood actors. So he's very well regarded in UK, as much as he is in India. Derek Malcolm says, I have been watching Indian films for nearly 40 years now, often at festivals up and down India itself. And for most of the time, I have seen Om Puri acting. I have never yet seen him give a bad performance, even in films that he himself might well say he were hardly the best vehicles for his talent. The British directors I have spoken to have told me of his outstanding talent, his quiet professionalism, and his capacity for hard work on a role. They have also spoken of his generosity to less experienced actors working with him. I'm pretty sure that Indian counterparts would say the same thing. Satyajit Ray certainly did. Ray said, "The man has a wonderful voice and a great charisma. He ought to be a superstar, but then I very much doubt whether he would accept the sort of films and the sort of parts that would make him one. Yet he remains one of India's best and an actor much admired in Britain too." Ray was absolutely right in what he said about him. Long may we continue to see and admire Om Puri's work, hopefully in good Indian as well as international films. Om Puri was born in Ambala, then in Punjab, now in Haryana, without a doubt. But there is a dispute regarding the date and year of his birth. There is neither any birth certificate nor any other record about it, and the year could be 1949 or 1950. And his mother Tara Devi always told him that he was born 2 days after the Shera. Later, when he joined school in Zanaur near Patiala, his mamaji or maternal uncle picked 9th March 1950 as his birth date and year. That stuck as the official date. Years later, around 1976, when he came to Bombay, Om decided to give himself a new birth date. He looked up the 2 days after the Shera that year and decided to keep 18th October as his birthday, and since then that is the day we celebrate his friends and family. So at times he receives 2 birthday cards a year. It took him so long to decide on a birthday because he never had the occasion to remember or celebrate it throughout his school and college years, apart from the fact that his mother made kheer 2 days after the Shera each year while she lived. No fancy parties or dinners, just a bowl of simple kheer made at home to celebrate the birth of one of India's finest actors. As many years later, his friend and colleague actor Nasiruddin Shah was to remark, Om was born with a wooden spoon in his mouth. Om Puri came from extremely trying circumstances. He didn't know where his next meal would come or whether he would ever get a meal or not. And he started at the age of 6 to work in a chai stall to contribute to the family kitty. But the turning point in his life came when he joined the National School of Drama. National School of Drama proved to be a transforming experience for Om. Despite having a friend with him, his first 6 months in NSD were miserable. The main cause was language. Having studied in Punjabi and Hindi medium schools, he could barely converse in English. It was not so much the complex that he suffered from, but the sheer frustration of not being able to follow his lessons. But the person responsible for averting this was Ibrahim Al-Qazi, who was the director of NSD those days. He told him, "You are hardworking and a good student, and if at all you get stuck for words in English, just continue to speak in Hindi. Don't hold back, but you must read the English newspaper aloud daily." And this, the man who did not know English, ultimately is the only Indian actor to have got the Order of the British Empire by the Queen of England for his contribution to British cinema. Now you've just seen a clip with his friendship of Nasiruddin Shah, which goes back to 40 years, you know. I mean, you know the Nasiruddin Shah and Om Puri are said in one breath. So how this friendship started in NSD? Despite the initial discomfiture in NSD, Om made some lasting friendships during his 3 years as a student there. One of them was with Nasiruddin Shah, the other stalwart of Indian cinema of the 80s. Nasir came from a more affluent background. Hailing from Meerut, Nasir's family was well educated and one of his brothers was in the army. That is Major Muhammad Ali Shah's father, Lieutenant General Zamiruddin Shah. Their friendship began under the most unusual circumstances. Nasir, being smart and confident, always got to play the lead roles in NSD. This in spite of Nasir being a student in the direction department. Once while rehearsing for the play Suryamukh, Al-Qazi asked Nasir to read for the lead part along with Jaspal. For the first time, the tongue-tied Om protested and told Alkazi that students of acting like him should be given preference to read for lead roles, and only if they failed, the direction students should be approached. Alkazi was not used to being challenged, but being a fair person, he asked Om to read the part the next day. Om did and got to play the role of Pradyuman, the protagonist. After the class, Nasir came up to Om and smiling at him said, "I knew you would speak one day." At that precise moment, Om and Nasir's friendship started, which was to continue beyond 4 decades. There was many a time the two did not agree ideologically and even at times were envious of each other, but deep down their admiration and love for each other remains strong to this day. The turning point in his life, of course, after NSD joined the FTI, where, the panel said, why should we take him? He doesn't look like a hero, he doesn't look like a villain, he doesn't look like a comedian. So Girish Karnad, who was the director, said, well, that's none of our business what he looks like. He's good, so please. If it hadn't been for Girish Karnad, he wouldn't have been in FTI. Later, when he came to Bombay, he struggled for about 8, 9, 10 years. He taught speech and movement at Roshan Taneja School. Among his students were Anil Kapoor and Gulshan Grover and Madan Jain and Surinder Pal and a whole lot of others. So, there comes a time in an artist's life when one particular work becomes the hallmark of his genius. It represents the core of his work, like Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, Orwell's Animal Farm, or Picasso's Guernica. In Om's case, it was Ardha Satya. It not only established Om as the actor Om Puri, but also proved to be a major turning point in his life. Ardha Satya is today shown in every police academy across India. Ardha Satya went on to become not only a critically acclaimed film, but also did very well in the box office. It was the first time in Indian cinema that a so-called art film with no songs or dances did this well commercially. The week the film was released, the famed Amitabh Bachchan star Coolie was also running. Bachchan was already the reigning superstar by then, but despite that, Ardha Satya ran for 22 weeks. Ironically, when Govind first decided to film Ardha Satya, he had only one person in mind, the angry young man of the day, Amitabh Bachchan. But Bachchan was busy fulfilling his big commercial ventures and had little time for a small budget film, that too with a not yet famous filmmaker. Govind Nihalani then approached Om. Again 10 years later, Govind's initial choice for the film Dhurokal was Amitabh Bachchan, but it did not work out. Finally, a decade, that is almost 20 years later, Govind realized his dream of working with Bachchan in Dev. In Dev, he got both the celebrated actors from Indian cinema, one from the popular genre and one from the art genre, Amitabh Bachchan and Om Puri respectively, to work together for the first time. One day during filming on the sets of Dev, Om caught Bachchan unawares. With a straight face he told him, "Bachchan Saab, I'm eternally grateful to you." "Why?" Bachchan asked, surprised. "You have done me a big favor." "Really?" Bachchan asked, even more puzzled. "What is that?" I cannot thank you enough," Om continued. The suspense was killing and Om was secretly enjoying every moment of Bachchan's bafflement. "But what did I do? Tell me," Bachchan asked impatiently. "You refused Ardha Satya." "Did I?" "Yes, you were too busy. Had you done the film, I would have been nowhere today," Om said. Amitabh Bachchan had a hearty laugh. "I'm glad I did because you did a much better job than I could have done." Incidentally, Ardha Satya is one of my favorite films. And this is what Amitabh Bachchan has to say about Om. "Every actor enjoys a certain compatibility with the co-star if the co-star is self-assured and does not step on your toes. That is the kind of comfort Om gives. Acting is all about reacting to the right performances with your colleagues. If a sequence is right in Dev, the credit goes to Om. He is also perhaps one Indian actor who has been able to bridge Indian art cinema, Hindi commercial cinema and Western cinema. Now there is a chapter in this book. Om Puri has done about more than 350 films, Hindi and English and Hollywood and British cinema, all kinds of films, television serials. So he picks up some of his favorite films in this book, and I call this chapter "Let's Go to the Movies." And these are in his own words, and I shall read out about his experience. We can't read out all the films, so we'll read out Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, which is an evergreen film. So, in a career spanning over 3 decades with more than 350 films, it becomes difficult to talk in detail about every film experience, the filmmaker and the entire cast. There are even times when I cannot remember a film, and I'm even pleasantly surprised when I see myself in an old film being screened on television. But there are some films that are very important to an actor in terms of experience as well as success. Here I talk about some of them, including Arohan, Bharate Khoj, Chachi 420, Charlie Wilson's Wars, City of Joy, a whole lot of others. So I'll talk about, in his language, Jaane Bhi Do Yaro. We all know, we've all seen Jaane Bhi Do Yaro at some point. I was in one of Kundan Shah's best film, Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, which also went on to become a cult film. Kundan is a bit of a scatterbrain and looks a little lost on the sets. He exudes a kind of nervous energy, but the nice thing about him is that he trusts the actors and lets them improvise. He does not go strictly by the rule books. The film was made on an extremely low budget. It was made in rupees 7 lakhs, and 7 lakhs was the entire budget of Bisleri for City of Joy. So, the budget was so low that the food came from Kundan's house. His wife cooked with the help of 2 bhais, and I remember there would be dudhi curry and aloo sabzi almost every day. He rarely wanted to break for lunch as time was money, and if he did, he would pick up a plate while the last shot was being taken, and after announcing action, he would start filling up his plate. By the time he said cut, he would start eating. While the shot was being canned, he would urge others, hurry up, eat fast, as he had already eaten and was ready to shoot. Since they could not afford a hotel and the shoot was in Alibag, actors would take turns sleeping on the veranda of the shooting bungalow, literally on the floor. The crew members were, however, not so lucky as they had to shoot virtually without a break, day and night. Once the cinematographer, the DOP, Vinod Pradhan, was found sleeping in an upright position with his eye on the camera. We realized it when no sound came from the camera after the director announced roll camera. It was the poorest film unit I worked with, but it was loads of fun. And that goes on to prove that simply having great sets and locations with a lot of glitter does not necessarily make an everlasting film. Then there are a lot of other films, and I don't think I want to bore you much. But basically there's also a chapter on tips to actors, and he talks about, he talks about Bollywood, and he talks about nepotism and feudal system in Bollywood, much before it actually came into this thing. So he talks, when I first came to Bombay in 1976 to join the Hindi film industry, I had behind me NSD and FTI background, 5 years of solid training. NSD's impact had been much deeper. Unfortunately, the Hindi film industry as a whole does not recognize talent without glamour attached to it. Here, actors with good looks and glamour are most welcome, as also are actors with glamour and talent, and more than anything, actors with glamour and family connections. Never mind the talent bit. Bollywood is a feudal system, hierarchical. While a star can command 10 crore rupees for a film, a character actor in the same film will not get more than 50 to 80 lakhs. And a boy at the bottom of the ladder would get 500 rupees a day. The disparity is glaring. Yet, he says, even so, some professionalism has seeped into the industry. But despite everything, and in this great Indian film industry, where there is harmony among the various communities, where Hindus, Muslims and Christians all break bread together, where a communal clash at a shoot is unheard of,
May it always stay this way. Thank you. Thank you so much.
पहले आप अपने बारे में बताइए।
Hi friends, I'm Bharti Chavriya, a celebrity fashion designer and a politician.
आपका वी से कैसे जुड़ा हुआ, कैसे आप इसके साथ ज्वाइन हुए?
वी के साथ मैं करीबन तीन साल से जुड़ी हुई हूँ एंड मुझे चैताली ने उसके लिए उसे जोड़ा है एंड वी के साथ मेरा ऐसा कनेक्शन है कि यहाँ पर चैताली के साथ के अलावा भी वी के साथ यहाँ पर जो भी मुझे वंडरफुल वुमेन मिली है, ऑल आर वेरी एंटरप्रेन्योर एंड दे डू वंडर्स। तो मेरी एक बहुत अच्छी रेपो है वी के साथ, तो जब भी मुझे वी बुलाता है मैं हमेशा इसका इवेंट पे आती हूँ, कभी मिस नहीं करती।
थैंक यू।
Thank you so much and wish you very good luck to V team and Chaitali for lovely celebration and exhibition. All the best. Thanks.
साहब आप अपने बारे में परिचय बताइए पहले।
मेरा नाम डॉक्टर अनिल गर्ग है। मैं 32 वर्षों से कॉरपोरेट और एकेडमिक वर्ल्ड में अपनी सेवाएं दे रहा हूं और वी की जो डायरेक्टर हैं, फाउंडर हैं चैताली चैटर्जी, उनको मैं बहुत सालों से लगभग 20-22 साल से जानता हूं और काफ़ी उनके अंदर कर्मठता है, जिजीविशा है काम करने की और काफ़ी सालों से उनके मन में था कि मैं कुछ अलग हटके करूंगी और मुझे ये देख के बड़ा प्राउड फील होता है कि चैताली का सपना पूरा हुआ और उसने वी फाउंडेशन की स्थापना करी और आज वी बहुत तेज़ी से पूरे हिंदुस्तान में फैल रहा है। नारी का सम्मान, नारी का आत्मविश्वास को बढ़ा रहा है और ये जिस तरह से प्रोग्राम आज ऑडिशंस भी हो रहे हैं फैशन शो के लिए, जिस तरह से वी आगे बढ़ रहा है, मुझे उम्मीद है कि एक दिन भारत के नक्शे पर वी का एक बहुत बड़ा नाम होगा। मैं उसके लिए चैताली को बहुत बहुत बधाइयाँ देना चाहता हूँ। थैंक यू।
धन्यवाद।
आज का महत्व यही है कि एक तो 2 अक्टूबर है, गांधी जयंती है और गांधी जयंती के दिन टीन्स और बच्चों का जो पूरा कंपटीशन है, प्रोग्राम रखा है चैताली ने, बड़ी अच्छी बात है और इसीलिए मैं आज आई हूँ। एंड बेसिकली ऑफ कोर्स जो बच्चे हैं वो तो अपना फ्यूचर है, तो उनको तो सपोर्ट करना चाहिए और चैताली बड़ा अच्छा काम कर रही है, तो इसीलिए बस सबको सपोर्ट करने आई हूँ और अपने आप को एंटरटेन करने आई हूँ मैं।
आप तो खुद एक बड़े सफल एंटरटेनर रही हैं।
हाँ जी।
तो आपको कैसा लगता है बच्चों को, जो आजकल के बच्चे बड़े बहुत ही ज़्यादा टैलेंटेड निकल रहे हैं, इनका भविष्य क्या है? अरे
बच्चे तो अपने को कितना सिखाते हैं। मैं तो हर मोमेंट दूसरों के बच्चों को जब देखती हूँ तो मैं ताज्जुब हो जाती हूँ। अनबिलीवेबल। दे आर द फ्यूचर, एज आई सेड, दे आर फ्यूचर ऑफ द कंट्री एंड नेशन एंड द वर्ल्ड। सो मैं देखती हूँ उनको, मैं ऑब्जर्व करती हूँ, मुझे बड़ा मज़ा आता है उनको देखने का, उनके प्रोग्राम्स। दे आर सो टैलेंटेड। मुझे उनके बारे में ज़्यादा बोलने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं। आप लोग सब टीवी देखते हो तो आपको पता है कि कितने टैलेंटेड हैं। कुछ बच्चों को टीवी पे देख के, इतने टैलेंटेड देख के मैं तो एकदम भावुक हो जाती हूँ, मुझे रोना आता है। बिलीव मी, हमारे माँ बाप बोलते थे कि उनके ज़माने में इतना एडवांस नहीं था जो हमको हमें वो बेनिफिट मिला। हम बोलेंगे कि हमारा जो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन है उनको बहुत सारा बेनिफिट मिला। लेकिन अगर आप में टैलेंट है, आपको कुछ करना है, तो आप बहुत कुछ कर सकते हो। Nobody can stop you. So I wish everybody all the best.
वी का क्या फ्यूचर लगता है आपको? वी दिन ब दिन तरक्की करता जा रहा है।
Super, very good. It's just going great guns and all the support to V.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
चलिए आइए, अब आपको आज हम WE के कोर टीम से मिलाते हैं।
है और मैं एक इंटीरियर डिज़ाइनर हूँ और मैं वी ग्रुप की कोर मेंबर हूँ।
हेलो एवरीवन, मेरा नाम मीनू वर्मा है। मैं वी की कोर टीम हूँ और मेरा अदा क्रिएशन का बिजनेस है।
हेलो एवरीवन, मेरा नाम सोनू जावलकर है। मैं भी वी ग्रुप की कोर मेंबर हूँ और मेरी एकेडमी है सेलॉन स्किल एकेडमी सेंटा क्रूज, वहाँ से मैं हूँ।
हेलो, नमस्ते, मेरा नाम सीमा सुमन है और मैं मिथिला फॉर्म की।
हेलो, मेरा नाम मिंकी घोष है और मेरा बिजनेस का नाम है मिंकी हैंडलूम।
हाय एवरीवन, आई एम सुष्मिता, कोर मेंबर ऑफ वी टीम। थैंक यू।
मैडम, वी के साथ मैं जुड़ी हूँ मेरी एक फ्रेंड के थ्रू और वी में आने के बाद चैताली ने बहुत सारा सपोर्ट हम लोग को दिया हुआ है, जिसकी वजह से आज हम लोग का बिजनेस भी बहुत ग्रो हो रहा है और प्लस हम लोग का जो नेटवर्किंग बॉन्डिंग जो होता है वो बहुत बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है एंड शी इज़ डूइंग अ रियल।
मैं मिसेस इंडिया 2018 जहाँ पे मैं चैताली से मिली और उसके बाद तब से उनके साथ हूँ ऑलमोस्ट 1 साल से।
वी के जो जुड़ी हूँ चैताली की वजह से जुड़ी हूँ। चैताली इज़ अ गुड फ्रेंड और ये इतना अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म है जो वुमेन एंटरप्रेन्योर्स है उनको अपना बिजनेस ग्रो करना है।
उन लोगों के साथ मैं मिल पाई, उन लोगों के साथ मेरा बॉन्डिंग बहुत अच्छा है और आई एम वेरी हैप्पी कि मैं वी का कोर मेंबर हूँ और चैताली जिससे मैं जुड़ी हूँ और मेरा बिजनेस बहुत आगे जा रहा है।